Hey there! In this video we will take a look at one of the best tools in Unreal Engine, being data tables. We will discover how to create new data table structures through C++, how to get data out of them, and why they can help you create better games. A data table can hold vast amounts of data and is an efficient way to create data-driven assets for your game. Data tables hold related data grouped in rows where the fields can be any valid UObject, struct, or base data type. But first, let's create our first data table by defining the row structure of the table in C++. For this, create a new file in your favorite IDE. For this example, I will create a data table holding your weapons and corresponding weapon data. We create a struct with the name weapon data and inherit from table row base. And define 4 properties being the name, damage, attack speed, and rarity. With our C++ struct in place, we can now easily create a new data table inside Unreal Engine using our newly defined row structure. Just right-click and create a new data table, select the weapon data row structure as a base, and we are done. We can now use this table to add, edit, and remove our weapons. You can imagine if your player finds a new weapon, you could easily choose this data in a nice way. Also, adjusting the data to improve game balance becomes a breeze, as you have an easy way to edit and patch the values. But wait, there is more. If you want to integrate actual assets like weapon models into your table, you can add pointers which easily link your row to a particular static mesh or actor. Let's just say that we create a pointer to a static mesh and we call the pointer weapon model. We could use this model to attach it to a socket of our character if we equip the weapon. Or we can display the model in the UI as a preview. Just keep one thing in mind. In order to have a nice performant data table, you should always consider replacing object pointers with soft object pointers and class references with soft class references. The reason being that when you want to access the data table for just one particular value, it will load all of the referenced object and class references and therefore create huge hiccups when your data table grows. So keep this in mind and just replace the pointers with the soft variants of them. We have our data table, but how do you actually use the data table now? You can use the table like any other asset in your game. Let's say we have a widget where we want to display our weapon data. We can create a variable holding an instance of a particular data table row and then getting all the values from there. For this, create a variable of type data table row handle. With this row handle, you can load the actual row by just calling getRow and specifying the row structure we created previously. In your blueprint, you can then assign the row you want to use by selecting the table and the row. Of course, your widget would need to be dynamic and not show the same weapon all the time. You would need to assign the correct weapon row on the construction of your widget. Please keep in mind that the table row handle will show you all available data tables, but you actually want to only be able to select data tables that feature your created C++ structure. You can restrict your row handles to only show tables that use your row structure by assigning a meta specifier which specifies the row type to be your struct. Then in your data table it will only show the correct data tables. Okay, but how can we use the data tables to find rows by keys? This is actually pretty simple in Unreal. We can use the findRow function to find a row with a particular key. Here, for example, I search for the row with the key longsword, and it will return a handle to the data of the longsword. You can also iterate through the data table with the getAllRows function, which will return all the rows of the data table and putting them into an array. Well, and that's a wrap on the topic of data tables. Now you have got the know-how to create and use them in your game. I hope the video was useful to you. If so, please smash the like button, subscribe for more game dev related content, and I'll catch you in the next one.